Welcome to the Hustle Skirt Podcast, the show that brings you economic equity for everyone, every day, with your host, Debra Gould. Yes, I am Debra Washington Gould, President and CEO of Debra Gould and Associate Inc., a professional service business providing services in training, facilitating, executive coaching, and management consulting. Please visit me at www.gouldassociates.com. So right now, as you can see, I have a guest here that I'm so excited about interviewing today. We have a lot of history, y'all, and she is just amazing. So with that being said, you know, the mission of Hustle Skirt Podcast is to promote, communicate, and amplify the influence of men and women entrepreneurs for profit businesses. That's what we do. Debra Gould and Associate and Carole Copeland Thomas and Associate. We are for profit. Every once in a while, the Hustle Skirt host may invite a C-suite or a higher executive with a corporation, government, or a nonprofit to kind of mix it up a little bit. But for today, it's all about Carole, y'all. And I know you're probably just as eager as I am to hear more about this person here today. But just know, Carole Copeland Thomas or Debra Gould, without a doubt, we did not live this long and strong to be put on the back shelf. So you're going to hear about multiple streams of businesses from this particular person today. So here we go. You ready, Carole?
I'm ready, Debra. It's a pleasure to be on your Hustle Skirt show. I love it.
Oh, when I created the Hustle Skirt podcast, you were in the mix, my dear. And I said, in my top 10 of over 100 some or more entrepreneurs, I said, I have to schedule this busy lady, Carole Copeland Thomas. So here we go, y'all.
Pleasure.
As an award-winning TEDx speaker, trainer, and global thought leader, Carole Copeland Thomas moderates the discussions of critical issues affecting the marketplace. She has spent 36 years, congratulations, Carole, in the professional speaking industry. 36 years cultivating relationships with local, national, and international clients and sponsors. Carole is a blogger and social media enthusiast to enhance her business activity. So please, to the Hustle Skirt audience, please allow me to introduce Carole to you today. Hi, CCT.
Hey, Miss Debra Gould, glad to be with you today and your wonderful watchers. Yes.
So we're going to kick this off and just get into the questions real quickly, because I want this to be your moment so that folks will have your phone ringing, checking you out on your website. And Carole, do me a favor. As I ask these questions, please take some liberty to give your contact information, because I have a feeling today folks will be reaching out to you.
Great.
Here we go, Carole. Why is your work in diversity, equity, and inclusion and beyond belonging more important around everyday culture, workplace, business community? Why is that DE&I space so critical right now in our society?
Thanks so much for the question, Debra. You'd think that in my case, after 36 years, that we would be at a different point of progress, a different point of unification, a different point of agreement in our country. Unfortunately, the opposite seems to be true from a political, from a socioeconomic perspective, and from just a whole perspective of what hasn't been talked about from a historical perspective. Diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, multiculturalism, these topics together are important now more than ever. We're looking at it from a workplace perspective, looking at it in terms of people getting along with each other, learning how to agree to disagree, which is a skill set that people need to learn. And most importantly, learning about other cultures, other people, who you work with, who you eat with, who you communicate with, who you collaborate with, who you do business with, who you worship with, who you live next door to. It's a whole process of learning and understanding about each other. So when you really look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, you're looking at a lifelong educational process that each and every one of us, whether you live in Boston, where I live, New Orleans, Richmond, Virginia, Los Angeles, California, or certainly parts way outside of the United States, these topics are more important now because of the dynamic movement of people around the country.
Thank you. I appreciate that D&I remark, Carole. I'm glad it was an excellent question presented to you. More, as you say, belonging, that sense of belonging in our neighborhoods, in our Christian faith, in our workplace is so key, even more today. And thank you for sharing that with the Hustle Skirt audience.
Absolutely.
That was a great general question, but we're going to deep dive a little bit more to my specific question. When is the time to pivot and move your business in another direction? Give us examples of how you have had to pivot this question.
Pivoting is something that any entrepreneur needs to always keep in mind, regardless of how long you've been in business. I'll give you two examples. Number one, when March 15th or so, 2020 hit, and those of us who were in action, we were doing things. I had just come back from an international trip from India. I was busy with my work and preparing for my multicultural breakfast that I typically have in March for Black History Month. And that particular month in 2020, I remember having that event at a designated hotel here in the Boston area, not even realizing that that same hotel and all hotels in the area would be closed within 2 weeks because of COVID. Had no idea that COVID, which nobody knew anything about unless you were in the science field, would have the kind of impact that it had on a lot of our businesses. And pivoting also is connected to preparation. And I think from an entrepreneurial point of view, we always need to be prepared for what's next, what's on the horizon next. You and I are both in the National Speakers Association, and I've learned an awful lot. I've met many people. And I've taken advantage of the knowledge that people have shared with me and shared it with you, Debra, our Ebony speaker sisters, Nancy Lewis and Michelle Portia, and others. And one of the things that I learned from a couple of people in NSA was this whole platform called Zoom. I was using another platform prior to Zoom, but I just jumped in and learned a lot about Zoom. This was about 2016 or so, 2017 or so, bought equipment, including this microphone that I have and some other equipment that I just decided to invest in. And little did I realize how important they would be in March of 2020 when everything started shutting down and we had to figure out how to do things online. And because of preparation and the immediacy of pivoting, I knew Zoom. I already have clients on Zoom. I'd worked with Zoom. And so that provided me to take my entire business online, really not missing a beat. Yes, some of my face-to-face activities changed. Definitely my conference series went online. It's still online from an international perspective. But the pivoting and the prior preparation opened up brand new doors for me. So I could now comfortably work in a hybrid community. Today, for an example, every one of my meetings has been online, and I've been online now since about 8 o'clock this morning or 8:30 this morning Eastern. And I have one more presentation and one more connection that I have that will be online in a few hours. So again, the capacity to do business, to conduct business, to take care of my responsibilities and do it efficiently here on the Zoom platform has been, I think, a blessing as a result of that horrific pandemic that we've all experienced. Number two is that I've learned the importance of seeing the signs, reading the tea leaves, and realizing that sometimes you have to design your future going forward. I say that because I'm on a long-term assignment with an academic institution here in the Boston area. It will be coming to a close very shortly. I have my other business activities. So now it gives me an opportunity to design, where am I going to go next? How am I going to move in the future? How am I going to take my skills? What am I going to do so that I can keep my business activities on the same level, do things working with new clients based on what I've learned and the experience that I've had, and do it in a very efficient and productive manner. So pivoting, preparation, and designing and redesigning are the words of choice when you're looking at any kind of dynamic business today.
Thank you. That was an excellent response to my question. And as my listeners, the key words here is the pivot,
Mhm.
preparation, and design. But Carole and I have a lot of history, probably with the National Speakers Association as early at the early 1990s.
Mhm.
And we have been collaborating probably more since 2007. We have done blogs, we've done webinars, as well as co-authored books together. But the one thing I would like to add, in addition to her response to my question, I think of it as the 4 Ps. And Carole is doing brilliantly 2 of those 4 things. We have to plan, the 4 Ps: plan, prepare, position, and pivot. That's your takeaway word, pivot. Thank you, Carole, for that. And
Absolutely.
one other fun question I would like to ask before we close out. And Carole, let me just press rewind just for a moment. Thank you for using my virtual background. It is much appreciated. And you have responded to 2 excellent questions by the Hustle Skirt. Can you just pause and take a moment to share your contact information, so our audience will continue to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Debra. I'll give you 2 points of contact. Number one is my website. It's my name, Carole with an E, CaroleCopelandThomas.com. And I also want to invite you to our website, EbonySpeakers.com. You'll find a lot of great information there. You'll see our wonderful faces. You'll see a couple of videos as well, the blogs that we have, the latest blog up from Debra Gould as well. So please just check on out EbonySpeakers.com, and then my website, CaroleCopelandThomas.com. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Carole. One more question. What's your new life goal that you want to reach before you die?
Ooh, I'm so excited you asked me that question. Very much so. My goal is to go to at least 50 countries before I die. Now, I'm 21 plus. I have a birthday coming up. And right now, I've been to about 24 countries. And hopefully by the end of this year, I'm going to add about 6 more countries to that list. So these are bucket list countries. I'm doing a lot of it by cruising. So I decided that the best way to get around the world is to go on cruises. I'm going to take my family on a cruise to Bermuda this summer, and then I have another cruise at the end of the year in the Mediterranean, also going to Egypt and Israel and Turkey and Cyprus and Greece, and then other points between my hometown, my area here in Boston, and wherever the world happens to take me. But at least 50, and I think I'm going to go beyond 50 as well. So I'm strategic about where I want to go. There's some places I'll go again and again, but I just want to hit some of the countries and the cities and the towns that I've never visited, and I want to visit them at least once, including Antarctica. So at the end of January of 2024, with the cruise that I have planned that month, I will have been to 6 of the 7 continents in the world, and I plan on going to Antarctica in the next 2 to 3 years. So that'll be all 7 continents. How
I
about that?
love it, love it, lovely. Is there any way I can tag along on any of those adventures? my adventurous colleague. I love it, love it,
And I'm
love
going to
it.
be going solo on most of the trips too. I've learned how to be a
New
solo
life
traveler.
goal
Yes,
before you die.
that's right.
Hey, I love it.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
bucket list, Carol.
There you go.
So here we are at the end of our interview on the hustle skirt, and I certainly hope that my audience enjoyed it. But I'm gonna slip in one other question, Carol, since we are involved in the D&I space, DE&I space. As you know, equity at its basic level amounts to giving people what they need to succeed,
Mhm.
recognizing that some people will come to you who have not had the opportunities or privileges of others. So we talk about this all day in our different workspaces for clients.
Mhm.
So I came across something by an NBA player, and I want you to fill in that particular question, how you put your spin on it. This was by Kevin Durant. He plays for the New Jersey Nets. And his comment was, the bond between athletes should exist between people. What's your thoughts on that?
First thing that comes to mind is teamwork. You cannot be an athlete on a team unless you practice teamwork. So when you're looking at a basketball team, you're looking at a couple of players, X number of players who come from all walks of life. Some have had to be helped in terms of scholarships to get through college. Others have not had to be afforded that particular resource. Again, some come from the north, the south. Some come from outside of the country as well. I think one of the draft picks now, I just read in the newspaper, I think today, I believe that young man is
San
originally
Antonio Spurs.
right. He's from some part of Europe, I believe, France or Germany, I believe. So again, you have players coming from all over the world playing for particular sports. And what they have to understand is the gelling that is important for them to mesh and to come together is how they then perfect their own games individually and as a group. And that's how they win games. So when you look at life, life is very much like that. It's a team sport. So the more we can understand the importance of the team, regardless of how many resources X number of people need, then from an equity point of view, we ultimately can achieve our goals because we are afforded the resources that we need to get ahead.
Absolutely. Ditto, ditto, ditto.
Mhm.
And on that note, as we wrap it up in my closing remarks, again, the Hustle Skirt podcast objective is to empower you to speak up and speak out. Did Carole Copeland Thomas take care of that message today? Embrace change in your own vision, mission, and purpose, and get fired up. We all had to make some adjustment during COVID, and Carole really didn't miss a beat. So we all have to embrace change because there may be something else catastrophic that might hit us, but yet we have to pivot and prepare with a passion, just like Carole did just now. Won't you do something for me, my listening audience? Make sure to visit our website at www.persistentlane.com, where you can subscribe to the Hustle Skirt podcast, 9 different platforms, just to name a few: iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Podcasts. So you can view this interview with Carole Copeland Thomas as many times as you want. And Carole, do this for me. Take a moment to tell us one more time how to contact you.
Thank you so much, my friend Debra. Go to CaroleCopelandThomas.com. That's CAROLE, CopelandThomas.com. You can find out a lot of information about me. And then go to EbonySpeakers.com and learn about the wonderful Debra Gould, Michelle Portia, and Nancy Lewis, and myself. We've been hanging out together since 2007. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carole. And ladies and gentlemen, while you are at it, if you found value in this particular podcast, we would appreciate a rating on iTunes. or just tell a friend, a neighbor, or business colleagues. Check out this interview podcast host had today with Carole Copeland Thomas. You are listening to the Hustle Skirt Podcast, the show that brings you economic equity for everyone, every day, with your host, Debra Gould. Until we meet again, CCT, take care, have a great weekend, and enjoy that family time in that cruise in July.
Looking
Can
forward
I
to
fit in a suitcase?
it. We'll make a little room for you.
All right. Thank you, Carole.
Thank
What a
you.
blessing today. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.